in an artificial hive. Like what I did there.
So what you did there, Graham. Yes, the University of Dundee is taking a lesson from nature as it becomes one of only 2 places in the world to feature a new kind of 3D printed wooden beehive.
It was installed in late June and is already helping the garden to counteract what is claimed are the negative impacts of urbanisation. Well, earlier we were able to catch up with the Botanical Garden's curator, Kevin Frediani, who explains how they did it.
So Dundee Botanic Garden's a young botanic garden, it's only 50 years old. We don't have all the range of habitats that you get in a very long established habitat landscape scale. So what we've done is taken a stump of a tree that was dangerous, but we made it safe, and then we've installed one of the Lacrima 3D printed hives about 4 meters up, and within 5 days the bees decided and moved in.
Wow, so they obviously like the environment. We often think of hives in terms of producing honey, but this is different. Why is it so important to create these hives for bees?
Well, one of the things this hive does, as opposed to a sort of man-made wooden hive that you see painted white, is it allows the natural circadian rhythms of the bees to work. So rather than them making extra honey for us to harvest off, they're making enough for them to survive. But they get into a pattern where they can build resilience. They're not being managed by humans, so they're less risk of pests and diseases, and therefore they can spend more time pollinating plants. If you think about where we live, I mean, in the UK, 85% of us now live in cities. Cities are urban environments made of concrete and steel. They don't have the endearing features of natural landscapes. So by mimicking nature, biomimicry, learning by nature, for nature, we can create those niches, even if they're just niches that are in space and time that work for those animals we want to encourage.
But what are the benefits? Why do bees and other animals need our help? I mean, it existed before us in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Well, it's the other way around. What we're doing is giving an opportunity for the bees to go feral, because the ones that we've domesticated and the intensive management that's going on is beginning to be detrimental in the landscape. You'll have heard of colony crash that in the 2000s that was reported, where we saw this, the pesticide use, the increasing amount of diseases and disorders that were crushing hives around the world, and there was a real concern about that. EU banned the pesticides, and we've seen a rise of those honeybees come back. What we're not seeing, because we're breeding these, is the natural breeding cycles happen. So in these hives, the bees choose what goes on, not us. And what we're trying to do is just make sure there's a complement there, isn't there? We still want honey, I like honey, but at the same time, we can also allow natural resilience to build up in these hives.
And so some people might be a little bit nervous of bees without even them being feral. But when you say feral bees, some people might get an image in their heads. What sort? I mean, are they they're calm, they're happy, they're not going to. So.
No, I mean you can stand at the bottom of the stump and watch them. They're not coming anywhere near you. It's 4 meters above your head. In fact, the other thing about the hive is it's a smart hive. So you can put in a QR code in your phone. You can listen to 30,000 bees. You can measure the humidity and temperature, and you can see what's going on. Now, in a working hive, the bees are always on the go because we're stripping out the honey. But what you get is lower rhythms of calm in the hive. And it's something we're going to monitor in the long term, so we can actually see, do these hives bring benefits to the genetics of the bees? Do these hives bring better resilience to those hives, but also by crossing out, because you are going to get swarms move back in, can they naturally enrich the captive bee population? So again, working in synergy.
And has it been a process of trial and error? Have some of your early designs not worked? And what is it that makes a successful hive that bees would be attracted to?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm not going to claim all the credit on this one, but Vince Mucha, who's the architect behind this, has 3,000 years of family tradition. He comes from the Bashkir tribes, which are in the lower Ural mountains. They used to mimic hollow out trees and create the habitats. They learned over 3,000 years what was right for the bees. We over here took a slightly different approach. We worked out, okay, what optimizes bee production for honey, rather than thinking about a little bit back for the resilience for the bees. So it's a what I call a two-eyed seeing. You've got the Western science, 3D printing technology, we can monitor them, together with the traditional knowledge of the indigenous people.
Fantastic. It is such an interesting topic and beautifully described as well. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
What a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
What a brilliant man. Fantastic.